Hey everybody, this is Brandon Ford and welcome to the Blind Rage podcast. We are returning to Tales from the Crypt for one of my definite favorite episodes. I think this is in my top 10 of the series. This is Blythe Danner in Maniac at Large from season 4. I think this is episode 10, and as per usual, I am watching the DVD, so if you want to watch along, that would probably be your best bet, although you can surely watch along on YouTube. I've never watched an episode on YouTube before. Well, actually, that's not true. I have watched one or two episodes, and some of them are incomplete. Some of them have ads. Some of them, they're supposed to be under 30 minutes, but you look at the running time and it's like 45. So I don't know what the hell else could be on that episode, or even if it is the episode. However, I know that it is the easiest place to go to if you're looking to get your Tales from the Crypt fix. So, by all means, before we get started, I would like to get plugs out of the way. As always, please don't forget to check out my books in paperback and Kindle editions by going to Amazon, by going to the Amazon.com website or the Amazon app, typing in Brandon Ford. There you'll find my titles as well as my author page. You can also find my audiobooks on Audible by going to audible.com or opening the Audible app, typing in Brandon Ford. Hopefully, by the time this airs, I'll have at least 10 titles up because I'm waiting for confirmation on a title. You can follow me on Instagram at writer Brandon Ford if you don't already. You can also follow me on Twitter at Brandon Ford. And lastly, this is supposed to be lastly, but it's not. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, criticisms, recommendations, suggestions for episodes of Tales from the Crypt, or movies you'd like me to do commentaries for, you can reach me at blindragepod81@gmail.com. There is one final thing I'd like to say, and it's something that I don't say enough. Probably because it's annoying, and I do say it in every promo that I post on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter about the latest episode of the podcast, but it only takes a second to rate the episode, especially if you are listening on Apple. It's to drop down, just select a star rating, even if it's not a 5-star, even if you're honest. I mean, especially even if you just want to give me a 1-star, just, give me something. I have 4 ratings up now, which I can't complain too much about because I've seen people who have had podcasts for years and they only have like 3 ratings. So I've been doing this for 6 months, and at least at the time of this recording, and I have 4 ratings, so I can't complain too much. But I don't know what it's like to rate on other platforms, so I can't say how easy or difficult it is, but I do know that on Apple Podcasts, it's 1, 2, 3. Just hit the drop down, select a star rating, and submit. And that's all you gotta do. And if you would just take those 3 seconds, I would be most appreciative. Alright, so we are going to begin the episode with a 3 count. So if you are going to watch along, make sure you're ready to go. In 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, so this was season 4, the DVD season 4. So yeah, we get the opening titles, or the opening title sequence rather. I said this before, but when the episodes did originally air on HBO, at the beginning of each episode, right before the opening title sequence, there was a black screen that said Home Box Office Presents, and I was checking out an episode from season 6 And yeah, like I said before, I was almost positive that it had that home box office presents, and yeah, I can confirm that it was there. Season 6 is a hot ass mess, by the way, but I will be doing a few episodes from it because, not that they're good, but because they're noteworthy, I think. But this is not a Let's Bash Tales from the Crypt podcast, or, this isn't even a Tales from the Crypt podcast. This is the Blind Rage podcast. But there is, and it shall remain nameless, a Tales from the Crypt podcast where it's two guys who talk about the show, and it's definitely not two longtime fans of the show who are professing their love for it. They nitpick everything. They pick apart the smallest details, and they seem to expect so much more than what the episodes are supposed to be, which this was the equivalent of a this show was the equivalent of a popcorn movie. But yeah, like I said, there are some definite clunkers in the series, but it seems to me that these two guys don't like any of them, so I don't understand the point of even doing a Tales from the Crypt podcast if you're just going to rip it to shreds. But yeah, this was a really good one. I always like this one. I like the red herrings. I really, really like the twist. I think Blythe Danner is great in it. As are the red herrings. Clarence Williams III is very creepy. And I don't. I probably. Well, I did look it up. I did look up the cast on IMDb before I started recording this episode, but some of the actors I'm not familiar with, so their names didn't stick. But I do like the English actor who has this. I believe he has a. It's been a while since I've seen this episode, so forgive me. I believe he has an odd obsession with true crime, and this episode takes place in a library, and yeah, so he's like researching serial killers and shit like that, and he's talking about, and he's comparing some of the more notorious serial killers who have been caught and their crimes documented. He's comparing them to a killer who is stalking the city. They don't say what the city is, but I think I can only imagine that it's New York. So he's saying there's a scene with he and Blythe Danner's character, and he's saying, how certain serial killers act, what their methods are, what their MOs are, and he says that the majority of the victims have been men, and he thinks that the next victim is going to be a woman, which of course gives Blythe one pause, and she's immediately terrified of it. Blythe Danner's, I wish I could remember her character's name, but she's afraid of everything and everyone, and I think she's a very, very unique character. She's one of the most unique characters in the series, I think. Like I said, I think this is one of the top 10 episodes because of the creep factor and all the red herrings, and I think it's masterful storytelling. This would be Margaret. There she is. This would make for a really, really good short story, I think. And that's what the show is. The ones that have a certain quality, I think, are the the stuff of great short storytelling. And those that are well written, well acted, have a good twist, and yeah, they remind me of some of the great short stories that I've read over the years by a variety of different authors. And like I said before, I probably said this many times before, this show inspired a lot of my short story writing. And I even tried to copy a lot of the twists in some of my favorite episodes. And thankfully, I don't think any of those stories were ever published, which is a good thing. I remember when I think I think that I might have. I don't remember. I can't remember if I probably did see this episode when it first aired, but I do remember seeing it in syndication, and I do remember the syndicated version better than I do the uncensored version, or the version that aired and is present on the DVD. Because while this is a really good episode, there is a fair bit of padding, and I think it is meant to build the suspense, and I think it is successful in that. But yeah, they for the syndicated episode they had to cut it down to, well, for syndication, now it's like 19-20 minutes syndicated TV shows are, but they had to cut it down to, I think, 21-22 minutes, and I think this episode is about 29, if I'm not mistaken. Mrs. Pritchard is a creepy character, I will say. And I think that because she is so stern and so no nonsense, and the way she handles the kids who are defacing the desk and stuff, she doesn't scream serial killer to me, but those are the conclusions that Margaret draws. And I think, well, I'm going to spoil this. So if you haven't seen the episode and you don't want it spoiled for you, I would suggest pausing the podcast to watch the episode and then coming back. Please make sure you come back. I think it is a really, really interesting twist because there is, like I said, talk of this serial killer who is killing random people on the street, and Margaret is terrified of the killer, and she's terrified at the possibility of any of the people around her being the killer. So much so that she ends up killing Mrs. Pritchard because she's convinced that Mrs. Pritchard is the killer because of... Oh, here he is. There's the English guy. Yeah, I like him. I think he's a really good character. And but by the end of the episode, it's revealed in Margaret's talking to herself that shut up, my fucking my voice screen reader was talking to me in my headphones because I have an email. What was I saying? Yeah, because I don't know what Margaret would be classified as. What her, we know that she's a severe paranoid, and that as it is revealed who the victims are, that she was the killer the whole time, but she doesn't see herself as the killer. She sees herself as a woman in peril who is acting in self-defense. I think that's really what makes her a very, very interesting character. It's that when you finally do get this reveal, it's not the revelation of a serial killer per se, at least not in the traditional sense. It is a woman. It is a woman who feels as though the entire world is out to get her, and she is acting almost in an animalistic kind of way to protect herself. Well, that is animalistic, yeah, because she's killing all these people. So I think it said that she's killed some homeless people, and I think some random people on the street. I don't know, but they've all been men, and it's clear that she's terrified of men, and until the whole thing with Mrs. Pritchard. I don't remember who this was. But this is another red herring. The shadow of somebody holding a knife in the basement that sends her fleeing up the stairs. I don't remember who that was. I think we're about to find out right now. Oh, yeah, it was Grady. I think.
Nina, don't worry. Ain't nobody down here now. Except us.
Yeah, he's creepy. And yeah, so she's definitely petrified of men, and until Mrs. Pritchard, she never really had any reason to be petrified of women or frightened at all of women. But
That's what Lieutenant Jameson is here about.
she
Something wrong, Dad. I saw a man in the basement. It was horrible. He had a knife. He had this big knife.
Excuse me, is that the knife? May I sting that, please?
The knife?
Yes.
Oh, no. A gang blow.
oh, so that wasn't Grady? I'm confused. See, I recorded an episode last night, and the fucking TV was way too loud, and I couldn't concentrate on what the fuck I was saying, so I made sure that tonight I left it at a moderate level, and now I can't really hear the episode, so I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Well, here's your victim.
Ripping up those hooligans.
Now listen, I could pick him up on vandalism charges, but I don't think it's gonna stick.
No, those boys were gone before you sent me down here, Mrs. Pritchard. It must have been someone else. It could have been that killer.
It's kids, ma'am. Trust me.
It could have been that killer.
Yeah, it was kids cutting up a book, supposedly.
Stopping by, Lieutenant Jameson.
Absolutely. No problem. Now listen.
I can't believe somebody actually stole. I think 9 typewriters. And this is like, what is this? 1992 or 3?
What a nice man. There, you see? There's nothing to worry about. There's one more problem. Now, I don't want to get Grady into trouble or anything.
It's interesting to think of a time when
It just seems to me with everything
people
that's happening
went
with
to
Ashley,
people didn't own typewriters, so they went to the library if they needed to type something up. And as opposed to now,
like pretty much
people who don't own computers and they need to type something, they go to the library.
Look at the time.
what are we gonna do?
But
You are overreacting.
yeah, I'm not so old that I remember the days when there were actual typewriters in libraries.
He or she deserves. If you put out fear and negativity, that's what comes back to haunt you.
The library's closing in 10 minutes.
I think her presence too is unnerving to a degree. The actress who plays Mrs. Pritchard, and I'm not trying to speak. I'm not trying to be nasty about her presence or her I always hate to do this when I talk about somebody physically. And by the way, I'm just going on what I remember. But she's, from what I remember, she's kind of a large woman, and Blythe is a very small, slight woman, very soft-spoken. She's very timid, she's very meek, and it wouldn't surprise me if they gave Mrs. Pritchard that kind of big hairstyle to make her appear larger and more menacing, so that you would think that perhaps there is a chance that maybe she is the killer. And also, I do remember her dressing in multiple layers and her shoulders kind of looking a little big. Maybe she was wearing some shoulder pads or something, I don't know. But it definitely seems like she was made up to be almost manly in a way. And I think that, again, is to...
Can I show you something?
He has quite the charming accent, I must say.
John Reginald Halliday Christie. Doesn't look like a killer, does he? But he was. And a necrophiliac to boot.
Oh.
Not like our man. Whatever our man looks like. I mean, for all we know, our killer could be some dapper little man in an old trench coat and who wears little round glasses.
And he's describing himself. I like that. That's so fucking creepy.
Yeah, I can see our man working himself up into quite a little frenzy. It's what you have to do to kill with a knife, you know? Like our man always does.
Yeah, and also I really like the reveal at the end when
Close enough to feel their
you find out for sure that Margaret is the killer and has been the killer all along. And she's kind of talking to herself, but she's also kind of talking to the dead body of Mrs. Pritchard, who she just violently stabbed in the chest, in a warped way of defending herself.
No,
And
we have a security guard.
she says something along the lines of, you know, I guess I have to move on again. And then she starts talking about how the city made her nervous all the time. So it's all right there in what she says. So
You really must go.
you really don't know how many people she's killed or how many places she's lived, how many times she's done this. But again, she is someone who, she's a character who is a villain, who doesn't see herself as a villain, who doesn't recognize or know or understand that she is the villain. She sees herself as the victim, and I think that makes her a really, really, really interesting character. It's a very, it's a very unique twist on the Woman in Peril story, because the Woman in Peril is
I'm not going anyplace after all.
the villain,
Locked in.
and it's not the whole, you know, split personality type thing where, you know, the stalker of, because there's a ton of those type stories where there's a woman who's being stalked and it turns out that she's been stalking herself the whole time. It's definitely not a variation on that. This is something that I've never seen or heard or read before or since. And I wonder how close to the comic book this episode actually is. I'm almost positive that guy right there is in. Oh, he's in something. Police Academy? I don't know. He's in something. And when Mrs. Pritchard comes back and she says that you know, that is just whatever the fuck his name is, and was just returning some books. You would never think that, because he's screaming and banging at the window and demanding to be let in. So that doesn't scream, you know, late night drop off to me. Like I said, Blythe really, really does play this character very well. She's very believable. Her panic seems very real, and even her mannerisms and the way she talks, too. She just has this constant nervous energy, and her voice is always quavering, no matter what circumstance she's in or who she's talking to. She always seems like she's about to have a nervous breakdown. And she is quite clearly a woman on the edge. Yes, she said he has some kind of bone disorder and he works late, so that's his excuse.
I know that he is. I tried to use the telephone, but that maniac cut the wires. I turned the phone off. The switch is underneath. I'll show you. You've cut the phone off? On purpose? It's so distracting. Well, we are closed after all.
See, she has a reason.
I want to talk to you.
Uh-oh. So you're about to come to the climax now.
But I can assure you, you're quite safe here. The newspapers have built up this maniac character. He did this, he did that. What nonsense. What if it isn't a man?
And this too is creepy.
That'd surprise everyone. Where's Grady?
When she says, what if the killer wasn't a man? What if it was a woman? That would surprise everybody, wouldn't it? And then that laugh that she does there. So you really,
What? Yeah, you hate me, Pip.
you really do kind of, for a second, think that maybe Mrs. Pritchard is the killer.
When you think he deserved to die.
You think I'm the murderer?
Ah.
Now you want to kill me? Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
Here it comes. Oh. Just like all the others, there you go. I don't remember this part. Oh. Wait, where is she? Because Grady...
Well, I guess I have to resign.
Yeah.
Move on again.
Move on again.
I liked it here. But this city made me nervous. So much crime. I don't like being afraid all the time.
See that laugh right there?
Giving such short notice.
That was a...
I hope you won't think too badly of me.
I think that laugh right there was a hint at her instability. That she's so much more far gone than we think she is. That's a really good episode.
Boy, do I feel sorry for Margaret. Looks like it's just one dead-end job after another. You'll be happy to know that I made a sale. The negotiations were fierce. But after I threw in a couple of acres, the rest was easy. There goes the neighborhood.
Keep them coming. Okay, that was Tales from the Crypt, Maniac at Large. As always, thank you for staying with me to the bitter, bitter end. And I hope you'll come back for more commentaries, more episodes of Tales from the Crypt, more movies, more fun. So until next time, this is Brandon Ford wishing you all unpleasant dreams.